Here is the question I get almost every single day. Piyush, I have an interview at a product-based company. The job title says DevOps engineer, but one of my friend got the job as an SRE. One of my college senior got the job as a platform engineer. So what is the difference between all these roles and how do we prepare for each of these roles? Look, this confusion is real because from the outside, all these roles look similar, but under the hood, they are completely different roles. Yes, they have overlap between each of these roles when it comes to roadmap or when it comes to roles and responsibilities, but the focus area of each of these roles are different. Some focus on reliability, some focus on faster delivery to the production, some focus on maintaining and managing the environment for DevOps engineers and so on. So today I'm gonna break down all the doubts that you have, the difference between DevOps, SRE, platform engineering roles, how to prepare for each of these roles, what are the roles and responsibilities, and so on. If you are new here, my name is Piyush. Cloud DevOps, Kubernetes, what we talk about in this channel, and we don't just talk about, we do the end-to-end demos as well. You can go and check out the playlist section of my channel and you will find a lot of playlists from zero to hero. Before I explain about each of these roles, let me share you why everyone is confused about these roles. Let's go a few years back when software companies were not as advanced as today. They were small or we didn't have a lot of complexities. There were few teams for each of the project. Like I started my career in 2012. We used to have few teams in our project. So there was a developer team, a team who was fixing bugs on production, which is also called as L3 support team, an operations team, a testing team, and there was a release management team. I believe that's it, and rest were the management teams and all. So the hierarchy was simple, but it had a lot of complexity. Whatever developer is doing and however they are building the code, deploying the code, compiling the code, it's totally different to what is happening in the production environment. There were no communication between developers and operations. There was a wall in between, and this caused massive problems. So around 2010, DevOps was born to tackle this problem, to break the wall between developers and operations. It enables the developers and operations team to actually work together as one single team. It works really well that now they can ship their features, ship the bug fixes to the production at a very faster rate. Their system became massive and now two problems emerged out of it. First problem, as the system got bigger, it started breaking more often. Someone needed to specifically own reliability. Someone needed to make sure that your system is up and running healthy all the time. And there is someone who is there to manages the incident, who's there to set up proactive alerting, monitoring, and logging on the production system so that whenever there is a production incident, it has to be handled carefully and instantly. So this is where SRE came from. Google invented this role called site reliability engineering, and later it was adapted by many other companies. Now almost every company has SRE role. Now there was another problem that arises after the scaling of DevOps. Every company started using DevOps, but then every team within the company started using their own pipelines, their own way of deploying pipelines, their own way of managing the infrastructure, and it became a mess. I mean, there was still communication between developer and operations team. Still, they don't have a unified way because they were sharing the responsibilities. They were not sharing the access of the environment. And there were too many tools, there were no consistency, and every new engineer spent their first few months in understanding how do they even deploy their code or how do they even run the things locally. So this is where platform engineering came into the picture. Someone needed to build out the clean system that every developer and DevOps and operations guy can use without breaking the consistency and without reinventing the wheel each time, so that they can focus on their job responsibilities and not worrying about environment and infra related issues. So in simple terms, DevOps started the revolution, SRE helped scaled it, or SRE specialized in keeping things alive, and platform engineering enabled developers to perform at a very faster rate. So 3 different responses to 3 different problems. Each one has a specific purpose. Now let's discuss about each of these. Think of a city. Someone has to build the roads. Someone has to plan where the traffic light go, where trees will come, how vehicles move from one part of the city to another part efficiently. A DevOps engineer is the road builder. In practice, a DevOps engineer's role would look something like this. A developer writes the code and pushes it to a version control system such as GitHub. The DevOps engineer has set up a pipeline, usually in a CI/CD tool such as Jenkins or GitHub Action or Azure DevOps. There are many other tools in the market, right? So DevOps engineer write and manages those pipeline that automatically picks up the code as soon as the developer checks in or the PR is being merged. It runs the test. It runs vulnerability scans, it builds a Docker container or it builds a compiled version of the code and pushes to a server like dev server or test server, production server onto a orchestrator such as Kubernetes cluster, or if it is running as a serverless system, so it deploys the serverless function. It depends like what type of server are being used over there. DevOps engineer also handle infrastructure. They write Terraform code to provision and manage the infrastructure so that all the environment are consistent, so that whenever we face any issue in production environment, we can try to replicate in lower environment without actually touching the prod. And DevOps engineer is also responsible for managing secrets, setting up guardrails, policies, environment configs, and so on. The focus is on speed and consistency of the delivery. Their North Star metric is called DORA. How often the code is being deployed? How long does it take for a code change to reach production? And how quickly can they recover when something goes wrong? All those things are being done by a DevOps engineer. So to get into the role, you learn the fundamentals, you learn Linux, you learn networking basics, you learn CI/CD, containerization, infrastructure as code such as Terraform, and it is the wider role, and that can always feel overwhelming as well. Okay, so let's talk about what an SRE does. So back to our city analogy. The roads are built by DevOps engineer. Now imagine it in a rush hour and there is a major accident on the main highway. Traffic is backed up everywhere and city is partially broken. The SRE is the traffic management system. It combined with an emergency response team. Whenever an incident happened, whenever an accident happened in the city, they are the one who get the call. They are 911. So they get the call, they go and triage the issue, triage the incident, they help mitigate the issue, and then they help provide the post-mortem report or the root cause analysis to what actually has happened, what went wrong, and how can we prevent this in the future. So there is a term called blameless post-mortem. What it means, if something goes wrong, we don't blame the person, we take the ownership as a team and we try to learn more about it, like what went wrong and how can we prevent it in the future without actually blaming the person who caused the incident, right? So there is SRE handbook by Google, published by Google. It is available free of cost publicly. Just Google SRE handbook and you will find it. Otherwise, I'll drop the link in the description as well. So that SRE handbook is the Bible for SRE. So SRE came back in early 2000s, like Google invented the role, and later, as I've told you before, it was later adopted by other companies, and now every company has this role. So why Google needed the SRE role? Because Google infrastructure was getting complicated, it was getting complex, because it was not just a single product, they had a suite of product, and I'm talking about like 20 years back, 25 years back. So they needed a specialized team, they needed a specialized engineers who can take the ownership of production reliability, who can avoid the outages, and who are there as the frontline engineer whenever anything happens on the production. Their focus is on reliability, and it involves SLOs, SLIs, SLAs, that means service level objectives, service level indicators, and service level agreements. Service level agreement is the agreement that you have with your user. Let's say I have an agreement with one of my user that my service availability is 99% for a period of 1 month. That means I have to provide them 99% availability of my service for one continuous month. Otherwise, I have to pay them penalty. So that's an agreement between me as a company and the user. Service level objective is how soon you will respond to incident. Let's say your support agreement is for an enterprise client, you will respond in first 30 minutes for an AP1 related incident, right? That's your service level objective, SLO. Then we have SLIs, which is service level indicator, okay, which is basically a measurement. What percentage of your requests are getting failed, or what percentage of your requests are under 200 milliseconds, right? The latency or the throughput of it. So that's the difference between SLO, SLI, and SLA. Then we have error budget. The error budget is the allowed room to fail. If your SLO is 99.9%, you have 0.1% to play with. When the budget runs out, no new feature ship until reliability recovers. So that's your error budget. So SRE also owns the on-call rotation, and when your app goes down 2 a.m. at the Sunday morning, there'll be someone who will be paged, and that person, SRE, will log into their system and look into the issue as soon as they receive the page. So if you are preparing for SRE role, be prepared for that. They debug the production, they write post-mortem reports, and they figure out what happened and how we can avoid in the future. If you love solving production issues, if you love troubleshooting under pressure, then this is the best role for you. So let's talk about what a platform engineer does. Let's get back to our city. The road exists, emergency services are working, but every driver in this city has to manually read a paper map and figure out their own route and navigate construction zones by asking stranger for the direction. The platform engineer builds that GPS. The platform engineer is like Google Map for your city. The core job is building what we call IDP, or internal developer platform. So let's say you want to provision an environment. Platform engineer build the self-service portal for you so that you can just enter a few basic details, click provision, and the environment will be provisioned for you. You can begin your code testing locally on that. So that's IDP. Now think of it like this. If there is no platform engineer, the DevOps engineer has to go through a process of approvals, process of ticketing to provision a local Kubernetes environment to test their code locally before they do the check-in or before they create the pull request. Wait for another ticket to get their DNS configured, and wait for the third ticket to get the monitoring set up. Now, platform team breaks that barrier. It provides most of the options as the self-service option, and it is traceable, it is trackable, and it is as simple as a developer logs into a portal like an internal portal and fills out a form, click deploy, and start using it. So what platform engineer builds? The backstage portal, which is a single place for the developers where they can see all their services, docs, deployments, etc. Then we have golden paths, which is the pre-approved, pre-configured templates for spinning up new services correctly. Then self-service infrastructure, developer can provision databases, queues, and environments without filing tickets. Then policy guardrails, because now platform engineers owns the infrastructure, so they make sure that security and compliance rules are already baked in so that developers cannot accidentally do something dangerous. If you like building things, if you like building environments, infrastructure, self-service portals, then this is the role for you. Okay, so just to summarize the clear distinction, I'll just share a diagram on the screen. DevOps engineer that builds the pipeline, CI/CD, Docker, Terraform, Dora metrics, speed of delivery, and it is a broad generalist role. Then it comes SRE that owns production reliability, and it's usually on call. SLI, SLO, error budget metrics are being handled here, and stability of system. and this is a specialist role, which is usually a higher pay role as well. Then we have platform engineer that builds the developer platform. It involves backstage, golden path, and IDPs. Developer productivity metrics are also being tracked here, developer experience, and this is for product minded engineer. So if you love troubleshooting production issues, outages, and root cause analysis, then SRE is the role for you. If you love provisioning infrastructure using Terraform or CI/CD pipeline, or deliver the code faster to production, and yes, it also involves troubleshooting, then DevOps engineer is the role for you. If you love building platform for developers, self-service portals, then platform engineer is the role for you. Now, if you are just starting out as a college student or as a fresher in this field, so you follow the roadmap of a DevOps engineer because it's more of a generalist role. It is a role that encompasses all of these three, right? If you start with that, you will have broader knowledge and skill set, and then you can focus on any direction that you want to go. I will also share the step-by-step roadmap of a DevOps engineer in the link in the description section. So check it out and you can start from there. All right, so that's it about this video. I hope you found it helpful and valuable, and it helped you resolve the doubts that you might have related to these three roles. So let me know in the comment if you have any more questions, and I will try to respond as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Happy learning, and make sure you subscribe the channel if you have not already. I will see you soon with the next video. Thank you so much.